If we don't have money, why are the Arabs here? If we don't have money, why are the Koreans here? If we don't have money, why is every immigrant that comes to America find their way into the black community to build their empire, their American dream on the black nightmare? So we have got to change that reality.
A lot of Asian Americans too don't, in my experience, don't even realize that if it wasn't for the civil rights movement, there would not be 22 million Asian Americans in this country.
Thank you. What I have been trying to teach the Asian community is like, friends, do you understand that your success, your prosperity, your civil rights that you enjoy right now was paid for with black blood?
The new mayor of New York gets up and tells the world that immigrants built New York. I got nothing against immigrants at all, but I do have something against people who erase historical facts. Just to be clear, enslaved black people built New York and every other state in America. There's like receipts, literal receipts, with the amount of enslaved persons it took to build each city or building. The White House. Yeah, the disrespect, I'm over it. I'm done with it.
What's up, good people? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you're doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. Now, I sometimes wonder myself if the various different immigrants in America do really understand that all the privileges they enjoy in America are as a result of the struggles of Black Americans. And this is what I want us to talk about in this video, because there is a very dangerous lie floating around in America, especially being pushed by immigrants, about Black Americans. And this lie is actually essentially built on ignorance, misunderstanding, misinformation, and just straight up disrespect for Black Americans. And when I talk about Black Americans in this case, is of course the sons and daughters of enslaved people in America. And many immigrants in America today do not understand who Black Americans are actually and what they really represent, or why they are even able to be in America in the first place. And I say this because, you see, every right, every freedom, every so-called American dream immigrants get to enjoy today, we can argue, was paid for in full by the blood, the sweat, the tears, and the bodies of Black Americans. But do immigrants really show gratitude for all that to, pay? Do they pay some credit, give some credit to the people that fought for them to be able to enjoy this? And yet somehow the very people who build America, they get mocked, blamed, and threatened by people who don't even know their history, people who actually get to enjoy America because of their sacrifices. So let's get into this video and let's watch this, and I'll be back with some good commentary on the other side.
Immigrants built this country. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear a man standing up cosplaying a Black American during Black History Month while dressed as a Black American looking like a cowboy. Don't you know who created cowboy? Do you not know where that come from? No. You got a grill in your mouth. Do you know where that came from? No. You won an award for music. Do you know where that music came from? No. No. So during Black History Month, we're going to make a false claim to who built America while being Black. This is not a diaspora war, because we're not getting ready to have one. The issue is misinformation being spread. There was an opportunity for you to highlight how you have benefited solely from the backs of Black Americans. Not only as even your parents being from a different country coming to America, Black Americans. The clothes and style of dress you have on, Black American. The grill inside of your mouth, Black American. The music you're singing and winning a Grammy for, Black Americans. But during Black History Month, you got your Black ass on a stage in front of a sea of whites and said out of your mouth with tears. With tears. What? I'm sorry? With tears, talking about how immigrants built this country. Where are you getting your information and education from? Because I'm in a state of confusion. I'm in confusion. I am the confusion. The confusion is me. How does something like this happen? How do you benefit solely from one group of people and cry about another while looking closely, might I add? People looking at you would think you were a Black American because of everything you embody is Black American. What are you taught? Use your common sense. What are you talking about? And why would you use this opportunity on stage when you could have paved the way and set an example for people to give credit where credit is due? Y'all want to talk about Black Americans being so angry? Wouldn't you be angry too if somebody had you on as a costume and that person looked like they could be you and still gave credit outside of you? Wouldn't you be upset too? Wouldn't you be upset too?
I can dare say this is the only country on the face of the earth where black, brown, white, polka dotted all have equal opportunity. They can make it.
The lady who raised the point that America is a great land of opportunity, we can't deny that America has given everyone who has come opportunity. But to the blacks who built this, I suggest to you, miss, you are not qualified to speak for us. You are not qualified to speak for us. You are only qualified to represent yourself and your opinion. But really, those of us who have suffered this, we know what we're talking about. Add up what it cost, black man and woman, that don't know your name, your language, your culture, your God, your religion, nothing of your past. Add that up. That's damage to your head, isn't it? Isn't that damage? Add up the fact that for 300 years they sold us and we had no rights over our own bodies. Add up the destruction to our women and the children from these women. They were in church. They wouldn't even let us read the Bible. They locked the Bible from us. And anybody that taught us how to read would be chastised. 300 years we were not allowed to read. See, this is why foreigners don't know why we are backward, because they think we are playing on an even playing field with all other Americans. They do not know what has happened to our head. There's not a Korean here that don't know he's a Korean, speak the Korean language. Show me a Palestinian in this audience that is not in the knowledge of his own history, his own language, his own culture. Show me a Greek or an Italian or a Polish person, an Irish person that don't know their history. But look at 30 million black people wearing white folks' name: Johnson, Jones, Smith, Riley, Culpeper, Washington, green, black, brown, blue, pink, Mr. Chartreuse. Everybody speaks their own language but you.
Country singer Shabuzi and New York Mayor Zorahan Mamdani have both said that immigrants built this country. And let me be clear, immigrants have absolutely contributed to the growth and development of the United States. And today, immigrants are being targeted by cruel, unjust, and racially coded policies that must be challenged. But truth matters. The foundational wealth of this country was not created by immigrants. It was created by trafficked African people forced into chattel slavery. For more than 200 years, African people were kidnapped, sold, raped, and worked without pay. They cleared the land, they built the plantations, they harvested the cotton, the tobacco, the rice, the sugar. They generated the exports that financed the banks, insurance companies, ports, railroads, and factories. That stolen labor created enormous wealth, and that wealth built America's early economy. The opportunity that later attracted immigrants didn't fall from the sky. It was made possible by centuries of uncompensated African labor. So when people say that immigrants built this country, we have to be honest. Enslaved Africans built the foundation. Immigrants arrived into a system already enriched by that stolen labor. Both truths can exist. And today, the same white supremacist ideology that once justified slavery now animates anti-immigrant policies. It targets black communities. It targets Latino communities. It criminalizes poverty, and it weaponizes fear. divide and conquer has always been the strategy. Because if people ever really understood who actually created this country's wealth, the entire mythology of American exceptionalism would collapse. Honor immigrants, defend immigrants, but never erase the people whose blood, sweat, and stolen labor made America attractive to immigrants in the first place.
Immigrants did not build America. The free labor of enslaved black people built America. And when we say otherwise, it's erasing the actual gruesome history of this country, which directly impacted black and Native Americans. When we speak about American history, we need to be accurate and ensure we understand timelines and definitions. No black person in the Americas, from Canada to Argentina to Brazil to Trinidad, is an immigrant. Forced migration and enslavement for the development of new countries in the New World doesn't equal immigration. Slaves built the monuments from the White House to the U.S. Capitol and the Washington Monument, often performing the quarrying, masonry, and labor. Their labor was central to the construction of early American infrastructure, particularly in Washington, D.C. and the southern states. Slaves built the ports in New York City, the flattening of all the lands in all the cities in the newly formed colonies, which then turned into America. Enslaved people built nearly all the railroad infrastructure in American South before the Civil War, constructing thousands of miles of track that connected the region. From the 1830s to 1860s, slave laborers cleared land, graded routes, and laid tracks for almost every major line east of the Mississippi and the south of the Mason-Dixon line. The nearly 9,000 miles of track in the antebellum South were almost exclusively built by slave labor, which utilized thousands of rented slaves prior to the arrival of the Chinese workers to finish the rest in the westward expansion and due to the abolishment of slavery. Many of you keep mentioning Mexicans and other groups in this convo without understanding continental America today wasn't America then. Mexico is also a colonial settler country by Spain. The native populations have existed in these lands for thousands of years, so there are no Mexicans or Native Americans. The United States territory bought slaves to this continent in 1619. The westward expansion wasn't until 2.5 centuries later. The enslaved population built the wealth of America for those 250 years. So Americans had the ability to buy Louisiana, buy Mexico, and expand the country. No one else did this. The westward expansion started in 1801 and ended in 1861, was the rapid territorial growth of the United States from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean, driven by the ideology of manifest destiny. It was then that the United States took vast amounts of land from Mexico, primarily through the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848, which ended the Mexican-American War and ceded over 520,000 square miles, creating the Mexican Cession, including now California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona. This expansion caused the forced removal, destruction of culture, and confinement of Native American populations to reservations. When we're having these conversations, it's absolutely imperative that you have a grasp on American history and timelines to accurately reflect what's being discussed. Because while immigrants absolutely developed America, Black Americans and their free labor are wholly responsible for the wealth that America built and made it the nation that it is today. This doesn't negate the later contributions of immigrants, but we have to tell the story correctly.
So I just came across a video from a Nigerian American man who was explaining how Shabuzi's speech at the Grammys, talking about how immigrants built America, how Black Americans are taking it out of context because there's so much distrust in our community and in our country. Me, as a Black American, I'm taking that as him saying, you guys just have so much trust issues because that's not what he meant. Like, you guys just need to relax. Unfortunately, you guys are responding to his speech this way because the climate that this country is in. Again, to me, this is me personally, as a Black American, I am offended by Shabuzi's statement and offended by this man's response to Black Americans' response. I want to address a couple of things regarding Shabuzi's speech. I think it is once again so disrespectful and belittling for anyone to comment on Black Americans' response to Shabuzi's statement stating that immigrants built this country, because it is wrong. And when we Black Americans point that out, when we say that is not true, these are the facts, the response to us is like, again, you guys always have to center yourselves. This isn't the time to be doing this. Shut up. So when is the time? Because it seems that anytime we try to correct people on American history, on Black history, we're told to be quiet. It is never, ever, ever the wrong time to provide an accurate version of history. It is never going to be the wrong time to tell the truth. It is never going to be the wrong time to educate someone on facts. It will always be the wrong time to allow someone to run off with false narrative and then repeat that false narrative to major audiences. The second thing I find offensive are all the people going, you guys know what he meant. You guys just want something to be mad about. How would we know what he meant? He didn't say Black Americans built the foundation of this country on top of stolen land, had to fight for civil rights, which allowed for immigrants of color to then come here and build on top of the foundation they built, and it helped sustain this country. He didn't say that. So how would I know that's what he meant? He said immigrants built this country. Why would I know that's what he meant? That's not what he said. So yes, he's going to be corrected. There's going to be criticism. And when y'all allow shit like that to slide, all it does is further the divide. And someone is telling an inaccurate story of history in a time where history is being erased, specifically Black history. When that is happening, you need to correct them immediately. You need to educate them immediately. You don't wait. You don't wait just because, oh, we're in a moment where immigrants are the center of danger. Yes, they are. But that doesn't give the excuse to then give false narratives. It just doesn't. You can center immigrants. You can prioritize immigrants while still telling an accurate version of history, while still giving credit and appreciation to the people who suffered before they got here. It's very frustrating. And this is what I mean. It when you let shit like that happen, it just builds resentment, builds distrust. At no moment should we ever excuse the erasure of a group and their contributions and their history. Just like we should not allow it for immigrants.
Black people are not immigrants. Therefore, immigrants did not build this country. Enslaved Black people built this country. Verbiage is everything. And it's very important that we nip this in the bud now, because this is exactly how history gets rewritten and erasure happens. Someone coming to a country to seek asylum, or just because they want a better life for them and then the family that comes after them, is not the same as enslaved people being captured and brought to a country as a commodity and exploited for that same work. I will not stand by and have y'all try to lump my ancestors into a category of immigrant as if they had a choice to come here. That's literally how history gets erased. Double backing on verbiage is everything. It is very important for young children to not sit up here and see and hear Black people being called as immigrants. Because what are they going to grow up to do? They're going to grow up to think of Black people as, oh, they came here willingly. Like slavery wasn't that bad. They were here and they just came here for a better life. No. And what are they going to teach their children and their children's children and their children? Once again, that's how history gets rewritten. Need I remind y'all, a lot of other races of people would not be able to come here had our ancestors and relatives not fought for civil rights. Like, y'all just act like civil rights just was like, that just wasn't a thing. That was freaking huge. Like, are y'all kidding me? And now y'all trying to sit up here and erase us as if like we just migrated over here for... No. Immigrants may be at the forefront of doing the services and labor that Americans feel like they're too good to do, but those same services keep the country going. However, they did not build this country. Let's not do that. That's what we are just not going to do.
So many foreigners will come to this country and look down on Black Americans like we're like the scumbags of the earth and like turn their noses up at us and be racist towards us. And then all of a sudden, when they feel like they're in some type of debacle or they need some type of help, now they're looking at us like, oh, we're supposed to be standing in solidarity. We're all POCs. It's like, well, first of all, more importantly, there is no country that you can go to on this earth where you don't have to have some type of visa or there's not some type of immigration law. So if you're in a country, any country, illegally, then at some point you're probably going to get caught and you're probably going to be deported. So why wouldn't America be any different? And my thing is this, like, if you're burning
American flags, but you're fighting to live on American soil. Like you're burning the flag like as if you hate America, but you want to live in America. You're fighting and you're upset because you want to live here. Now I can see like if we're at war and you burn the American flag, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And you're on your own soil and you're burning American flags. I get it. But you're fighting to stay here illegally and burning the American flag because you want to live in a country that has freedoms and opportunities that your country is not able to provide you. They're separating families. Families are getting torn apart. It's like that's what happens when you break the law. That's what happens. Just like if you were to go to jail, you would be separated from your family and you would have to go to jail. It's the same thing. Like you're here illegally. You didn't do things the right way. You let your visa expire or whatever. Just do what you're supposed to do like everybody else has to, and everything will be fine.
All right, so let's start here because this is the root of everything. You know, most immigrants in America do not understand that Black Americans, the sons and daughters of enslaved Black people in America, are not immigrants. This is where the confusion comes. Immigrants see Black Americans and they think they are immigrants like them. They are not newcomers. They are not guests. They are not minorities asking for acceptance in America. And that is, Black Americans are foundational to what we know as the United States of America today. At least, well, today. America does not exist without them. The modern day America doesn't exist without these people. Before Ellis Island, before the visas, before the green cards, and even before ICE, Black Americans were already there, and forced to build America from the ground up to what we see today and what everybody has admired for, for years, So when immigrants speak down on Black Americans, that's not just disrespect. It's more than that. It's also historical illiteracy, I can call it. So now this brings us to this point of the deportation myth that sometimes I hear being spun around by different immigrants that are now facing, ICE and deportations and harassment basically from this regime. And now here is where misunderstanding becomes embarrassment. Because you see, immigrants say things like, if Black Americans don't stand with us against deportation, they will be next. But this begs the question, next to where? Where are they going to be deported to? Where are they going to deport Black Americans to? Black Americans cannot be deported. This alone proves a big gap in misunderstanding coming from the immigrants. There's nowhere to deport them to. Because America, as we know it, is their country, is their home. They have built it. They have done everything. Black Americans are already Americans by blood, by history, by labor, and by sacrifice, basically. So when immigrants project their fears onto Black Americans, these fears of deportation and there's a migration crisis, they're just revealing that they don't actually know who they're talking about. So, and maybe here is the part that many immigrants, don't like hearing, that in America, Black Americans are hosts. They are not guests. They are the hosts. They own the house. Not because maybe they own the system. Maybe they don't own the system, as we know, but because they build the foundation that everyone else, even those that own the system, we're talking about the white supremacists, even everything that they enjoy today is as a result of the sacrifices of Black people, the civil rights, the labor protections, the voting rights, anti-discrimination laws, everything else that is being enjoyed, especially by these newcomers, the immigrants, is actually because of the fights, the sacrifices of Black Americans. Immigrants didn't fight for all this. They just inherited them, basically, yeah? So when, I can say the bare minimum expectation should be respect to the hosts, because that is who Black Americans are. The same respect that immigrants bend over backwards to show to white America and the white power structure is exactly what they should show to Black Americans as well. But instead, what do we see? We see mockery, we see blame, we see distancing. And you ask yourself, why? Now, that is exactly answered. The question why is exactly answered by this next point: proximity to whiteness and the immigrant anti-blackness concept. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Some immigrants, especially segments of the Latinos and Asians especially, believe that proximity to whiteness will protect them. Just because they feel that they're not black, they feel that now they are closer to whiteness. So they punch down on Black Americans, thinking if I separate myself from them, I'll be accepted. History shows this strategy never works. History has always shown that white supremacy does not reward loyalty. It never has. It only tolerates usefulness. Well, until it doesn't. And then, so the irony is, the same system immigrants chase acceptance from is the same system that has exploited, Black labor to build America. So really despising Black Americans to feel closer to whiteness isn't gratitude. It's amnesia. Yeah. So we can be clear on this, that Black Americans are not they're not obligated to fight immigrant battles, especially when these same people that are asking for the help of Black people are the same people that disrespect black people, Black Americans. Solidarity is not automatic, it's earned. And it starts with learning the history, acknowledging the sacrifices, dropping these Black narratives and agendas, and understanding who built the roads you're comfortably walking and driving on today. Yeah. So if immigrants in America really, really want the help, the solidarity of Black Americans, it begins with humility, not entitlement, not mockery, not disrespect, not trying to associate yourselves with the white power structure. You don't get to enjoy the fruits of a struggle while you disrespect the people that basically planted the tree from which you're getting the fruits from. So Black Americans are not guests in America. They are not temporary. They are not deportable, most importantly. They are actually foundational. And basically, until immigrants understand that, this misunderstanding and this tension is going nowhere. It's still going to be there because it is misinformation, it is ignorance, and it is downright disrespect. Yeah, so really that's my take on it. Do share with me what you think about this in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if it is your first time. And I'll see you in the next video.